You know, before I turn to Mr. Kirk, it's interesting. Right before this hearing, and Mr. Hinchy knows my son, I got an email from my son, who's a state senator in New York, and it was an email he sent to a lot of folks saying, "I just did 2 shows on BronxNet that will be played the rest of this month." Right now, when you think of it, New York City, the chances of a state senator, except maybe for the Senate majority leader or the minority leader, to get on NBC or CBS so on for half an hour to talk about issues that are directed to the whole banking industry, what Wall Street has to do with New York, the environmental issue and so on, that's not an easy thing to accomplish, regardless of who you are. I mean, I don't get invited, once or twice a year because it's New York. And so when we think of PEG channels, we should think, many people think of the school board, or some local program and so on. But it's also a vehicle for many of us to get a message out, to instruct people, the ability to have a show replayed over and over again so that people can see it. It's not only what it appears to be, it's much more, and it gives people a chance at opportunities that just don't exist. Mr. Kirk. On this subject?
Well, you said a couple of things. I just would say first on Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern. My experience is that only Republicans listen to Rush Limbaugh, and so the reason why no one is complaining is because Democrats don't tune in.
Oh no, I tune in just to see how bad it can get.
Collecting enemy intelligence. Yeah,
I used to be a ditto.
Right. Whereas with Howard Stern, I think the problem was the kids were all listening to it, but then their parents would tune in.
Well, Howard Stern is that 90% of people listen to him won't admit it.
Yes.
And the ratings would be through the roof.
I just say, Michael, you have a future career on Saturday Night Live as an imitator of Rahm Emanuel. So I think there's a new. Seriously, with Howard, obviously we have a struggle with satellite. And I was just thinking out of the box that a requirement that satellite carry local access, you could just designate 100 channels that satellite would have to carry. And that would be the 100 biggest markets. So Chicago, New York would be carried. And then when the customer signs up, getting their zip code in, you would be probably providing local access to a very large number of Americans. And then they would have an equal burden to cable, which I think these are all authorizing committee issues, but still, I do feel your pain on that. My worry is, without an enforcement action, we will quickly, in the cable industry, race to the bottom by wiping out PEG as much as the commission would let us. And obviously, our action here is to not allow that to happen. Just provide any comments you might have on those.
I think trying to ensure equal obligations level playing field should be a goal in this area, and I think any area of communications policy, and that's certainly a point we've made to the authorizing committee. I would, I guess, respectfully disagree. I don't see PEG disappearing. I think PEG is going to change. It's going to have to change as technology changes and takes public access with it. I don't think we want to see it disappear. As I said at the outset of my testimony, we think PEG has been a very valuable part of what cable is, what people think of as cable. And I think the difficulty is moving from the analog world to the digital world with all that entails, and some of the difficulties and challenges that have been posed by the FCC. But I don't think it's going to disappear as long as the statute stays the way it is and franchising authorities have the authority to ask for it. Because as this hearing illustrates, I think local franchising authorities, at least as much, if not more so than this subcommittee, has an interest in making sure PEG continues to exist and provide that local outlet. So it's going to be there, and we're talking about making sure it's viable.
Just say that, when we look at leveling the playing field with satellite, you might not require the satellite to carry Wasilla cable, but at least if they're carrying Anchorage,
why are you picking
they're doing to level the playing field. So I would say that in my own state of Illinois, the communities involved and their approach to Lisa Madigan shows that AT&T will lose politically this battle in Springfield, just as a political observer of my state. But let me ask Monica, I would be willing to sign a letter with the chairman to you saying, hey, get on the case here. Is that enough for you to get rolling?
I'm sure a letter from you and Chairman Serrano would be would act on it post haste.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And your cue, you took your cue beautifully, because I had just turned to my right. Well, never to my right, but I had no choice, and discussed with staff that the committee will the subcommittee will put this subject on the table with the FCC. That's a commitment right now. I think it's in the best interest of all involved. If the picture is not what it appears to be, then cable providers need an opportunity to clear that up. And if the public, indeed, as I am, concerned that peg channels may disappear or may be hard to reach or there's a problem with it, then it serves our purpose too. So you went a step ahead of me, but it is the committee's intent immediately to put this on the table as a request.